Hello and welcome to Adventures in Venueland, an EAMC podcast. This is your all-access pass to go backstage and behind the scenes with some of the brightest minds that cross the scope of the live entertainment industry. I'm Dave Rettelberger.
And I'm Paul Hooper. We'll introduce you to some of our favorite people as we dive deep into the world of live touring shows and the venues that host them.
Today's adventure takes us to the Windy City, where we're going to check in with Colleen Quinn. She's the Director of Communications and Digital Marketing with the United Center. All kinds of cool stuff to talk about from her work, kind of working on the arena's, digital marketing campaigns, communication strategy, all that good stuff. But a lot of really cool stuff, behind the scenes, too, that you would not normally be involved with, from Democratic National Convention bids to spearheading grand openings of giant expansion projects. So let's get right into it. Colleen, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I think it's a little cloudy outside, but I feel the sunshine in this room.
There you go. We'll take it when we can get it in February, right? Or February is when we're recording this. I know this is coming out in March, and one of the big things that at the time that we're recording this is where the 2024 Democratic National Convention is heading to. Let's jump right in, because this is something, from an arena side. How did you get involved with this?
Oh, yeah. This, I think, was the mountain of my career for sure to this point. It was definitely a challenge, but one of those welcome challenges in our industry. It kind of just fell into my lap thanks to my boss. But right now, where it stands right now, I'm sure you've seen, we're in the running with New York, Atlanta, and Chicago. We're in the finishing stages. So we should be hearing soon where the Democratic National Convention will land. And we're hoping in Chicago.
Yeah. So what's a venue's place in this? I mean, you're obviously hosting it, right? But take us through the process, because a lot of people listening, if the project's brought to them, in 4 years, don't even know where to start. So walk us through because this has not been a short project or just something you've been working the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, high level. I mean, I'll admit too that this was something it never even crossed my desk before this. So never crossed my mind that we could get the opportunity again, because they were here in Chicago in 1996, which is kind of a bit from now, I understand. But I just didn't think it was possible for them to come back in my tenure. And I'm excited for the opportunity. But high level, how it started was, hey, this is an opportunity. Here's the RFP. Take a look through it. And then I'm looking at this 80 to 100 page RFP, and that's just the questions, right? Like, that's not even our responses included. Yeah. So the RFP was the first step. And then we prepped for that and read through that for about a week. And then for the next, I would say, 2 months that followed, I think it was April and May of last year, we worked through our response to the RFP. So that's the first step. It's responding to the RFP with our Chicago bid. It's a kind of fun situation in Chicago, because usually these bid processes are run through the city themselves. So like New York City working with the venue, but New York City is taking the lead on that bid. Sure. In Chicago, we have such a great relationship that we kind of took the lead and took the creative lead on the bid. So we led the process. We helped the city come up with their bid. We were the designers behind it. So for 2 months, we worked through this very visual bid submission. And I think May 25th of last year was the deadline. And we turned that in then.
Wow. It seems like a lot of moving pieces but also one of those things that it's like, if you never do one again, you now have this interesting experience of, wow, like that's so that's what that scale can look like. It's like everyone obviously works with RFPs, but I'm sure for a Democratic National Convention, it is a very extensive, elaborate one that you have to, comb through.
And honestly, I'll never have to, comb for details for another bid ever again, because it's a glossary of information on the United Center and the city itself. So anything I need is right there. But then after that bid submission is actually a really cool thing that I don't think we've ever done it to this extent before. But so in July of that year, I keep saying that year, but July 2022, we hosted a site visit, and the DNCC comes to each of the cities and they experience the venue, the convention complex, all of the above. And we really made a custom tailored experience for
I heard
DNCC.
something about this, right?
Yeah.
You guys really did some cool stuff.
Yeah. So we welcomed them in, and then first we had a blue carpet entrance. So they had to walk into the blue carpet, and then it was like uplighting, everything you can imagine from a production standpoint. And then they walked into the bowl of the arena, and we had our scoreboard. I don't know if you're familiar with our scoreboard, but they have individual panels that move independent of each other. We had the whole scoreboard down on presentation level, and our executive vice president of the United Center standing on a stage in front of the ginormous scoreboard, ready to greet and give a little presentation about the United Center. And then we kicked it off with like a hype video, like as if you're coming to a Bulls and a Blackhawks game. They had that Bulls intro running of the Bulls. Yeah, exactly. And we really just made them feel like they were part of the experience and being part of the story of the United Center, because that's kind of our goal. That's our North Star as a company, is creating these iconic stories and making talent, making, in this case, the DNCC, feel like they are part of the story, because they really are, like we're helping them create their story and they are playing into our story.
Sure. Yeah, very much a collaborative partnership, or that's the way you want it to feel, is that we're kind of working to create this experience together.
For sure. It's, how these things go. They're a little bit exhausting, but you look back on it and you're like, oh, we did that, like we put on this awesome show. We made them smile like that. And for me, that's kind of the payoff. I'm very much like in it for the reactions, like, are their eyes wide? Are they smiling from ear to ear? Are they entertained?
Yeah.
So, obviously you've done all this work, and now you're now just kind of waiting to be picked or selected, right?
Yeah. So actually it's really high level 3 steps: the RFP, submitting the bid, then the site visit to the Chicago location. But then in addition to that, we did another reception in Baltimore where each city had their own room, and you had to bring the Chicago experience to Baltimore.
Yeah, talk about that for just 1 minute, because that was pretty cool what you guys did there.
Oh man, it was cool. God bless Derek, because I wasn't allowed to fly at that time, but I helped with the coordination of all the details. But yeah, you're working with the hotel, because it was in a hotel at that time, the hotel ops team, the production companies out there, and in an area we've never worked in before, because our business is a lot, but it is local. We work with our local unions. We work with our production team. So it was definitely different, but we pulled it off. We did a mini version of what we did at the United Center in Baltimore. So that was fun.
That's cool.
They made us work, but looking back, it's just really cool to see it all come together.
Well, and at the very least, if it doesn't pan out, I think it's something that you all can hang your hat on, that that you're able to like go to bat for any of these big events. It might not be the DNC, but if it's some other thing that you're bidding on, you now know what you kind of have in your bag of tools, and you can swing for the fences and chase down these big events.
Hey, anything is possible after the DNC bid process.
Yeah, you can do anything now, right?
And honestly, I think in self-protection mode, I have not thought of a world where we didn't get DNC 2024. So it'll be earth-shattering for me if we don't. But yeah, we're in the negotiation processes like the other cities that are in the process with us. And we're getting down to the nitty-gritty details. I'm lucky to be just a fly on the wall in those conversations. But Yeah, so it's us, Atlanta, and New York City, and we're hoping to hear back soon. I really thought we would have known by now, but you know how it goes in this
We've got our
biz.
fingers crossed for you, Colleen.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You can host Dave and I if everything falls apart. You can host us.
Yeah, we'll come on. We'll come. Be the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
We love uplighting. Hey, let's take a step back for just a minute and kind of talk about the United Center, because for somebody who's never heard of the United Center, kind of let's talk about the building and your ownership group and kind of your role there.
Oh yeah. Okay. So let's talk through this. So Derek and I we were the inception of the marketing department at the United Center. So 10 years ago when we came on, there wasn't a marketing department. It kind of was like operating, hanging on by a thread, but operating through the teams. And there's a lot of venues that are like that. But I'm proud to say that Derek and I kind of opened the eyes to our leadership team on what all was really possible. But another thing about the United Center, largest arena in North America in square footage.
Interesting.
A fun thing about the United Center that's a little bit different from other arenas is that it is privately owned. So it's a joint ownership. So Jerry Reinsdorf, who owns the Bulls, and Rocky Wirtz, who owns the Blackhawks, they jointly own the United Center. Their families jointly own the United Center. And with that comes a lot of benefits in that we have a lot of control over the things we do, the events we book, and really the sky's the limit. And so we are so lucky to have just such a supportive leadership team and ownership committee that we really have been able to do some things that I never thought we'd be able to do because of them.
So talk about a little bit about your role there as, what you do on a day-to-day basis, that's not the DNC, right? As your role as the Director of Communications and Digital Marketing. What does that mean?
Yeah. So the small things are like, website development, email marketing campaigns, social media, that Derek is really over social media, mobile app, all that, Google Analytics, all that fun stuff. And then the higher level things are our comm strategies, our building initiatives, our expansion projects. All of those things are what could cross our desk on a daily basis.
And by the way, we should mention that you've mentioned Derek a few times. Derek, yes. who's a good friend of ours. Derek Christian, right?
Yes, Derek Christian. He is like my work husband, I would say. We've been through thick and thin together. We grew up together at the United Center. So when you say Colleen, Derek goes hand in hand with that. If you say Derek, Colleen goes hand in hand with that. So 2 peas in a pod for sure.
And Derek does have his own episode, which everybody should check out in the Adventures in Venueland archives. So United Center, there obviously, a lot going on. What's your primary focus? Are you more on the, are you doing a lot of stuff with the teams, or are you primarily focused on the special events?
Yeah, actually, it's fun because we are able to devote most of our energy to the concerts, special events, and family shows that come to the United Center. We're not having to, produce every Bulls game, produce every Blackhawks game. We obviously devote most of our energy to the concerts and family shows and, really, really making those experiences special for the talent.
One thing I know it's been a big project for you is, working on some of the campus expansion. What does that mean?
Yeah. So when I first came on at the United Center, it was the arena, 960,000 square foot arena. And then in 2017, actually it was March 1st, 2017, we did the ribbon cutting ceremony for the East Atrium Addition and the office buildings. So in 2013, when I came on, I was working in the basement like so many of us are. No windows. It's a time warp. You can't see what time of day it is. Now, basically now I work in a fishbowl where it's like all windows. I can see the sunlight. I'm aching to get out there most of the time. But yeah, so we were all a part of unveiling that. And even helping to design it to make it a practical environment for the work or the employees that are in the building. Our leadership team really looked to us for guidance on, what do you think this place needs? What can we provide to you to make this an optimized location for you to work? And anything like standing desks. So we got standing desks. Those are nice now. We have a full gym with trainers that create custom fitness routines for us. They're really just an amazing, amazing ownership group. And we're just all so lucky.
We got free pizza today at the office, but that's about as good as it gets here.
We are a unicorn, and I understand that our ownership team, they're unlike any other.
I was going to say, I mean, that seems like, from what I hear about United Center, they are so forward thinking on employee satisfaction and engagement. And, when it comes to, just making sure everyone is happy, but also like DEI efforts and so much more. I mean, it seems like you guys are really innovating, but also just very introspective, and not just about, hey, we're so great with the artists, but like, how do we really get the most out of our team and make sure they're happy? I mean, I think it's a testament that you and Derek have been there, what you said, 10 years now, both of you. Like, that's not all that common that both of you would stay that long, but I think that's kind of, I'm sure, part of it is that, you have this company that's really trying to go that extra mile to make sure the staff is happy and, they're going to feel most comfortable and the most productive they can be.
And you guys know, just being in this business, you spend so much of your time within the walls of the arena. It's almost like a second home. So creating a place where people are comfortable spending their time was very important to our team. And I'm thankful for that. But again, like you said, it's not where we want it to be yet, but there's always growth that's happening there. And we are getting closer and closer to our goal, but we are really working on our DEIB efforts and, working with consultants there to just make sure that we are evolving, we are growing, we are, just being mindful of how we move this ship forward.
Colleen, when we're talking to you today, you're coming in from home, right? Mm-hmm. So you mentioned that one of the good things for many of us that came out of the pandemic, and there weren't a lot of great things, let's be honest, but is the opportunity to occasionally work from home. So you've kind of got a little opportunity there.
Yeah. So I'll say one of the biggest challenges for me in the last 2 years has been a new mom in the industry. So I have a 2-year-old and a 5-month-old, which makes for a very busy life, a very loud and busy life. So the ability to have that hybrid work-life balance is just so nice. I really can't imagine now. I mean, obviously there are some weeks where we need to be there 5-6 days a week, with our event load and things like that and meetings and such. But the ability to have 3 days in office and the option of 2 days at home has really been amazing for me. Like, even driving, I was telling Paul, driving to work, I live 9 miles away, will sometimes take an hour and 15 minutes, which obviously cuts into my productivity because I'm just sitting in the car listening to podcasts usually. And when I could be sitting at my desk in my basement, working away on a press release or building a part of the website. So I just think the option to have the 2 days from home has really increased my productivity overall.
It does, though, right? And that's kind of unusual in the getting to work from home for a couple of days. I actually find that on those days, it's a kind of a different kind of productivity I get from those home days.
For sure. And I really think, I was saying this to our team yesterday, was the human connection of working in the office is really just something you can't replace. So those days that I do go into office and everyone's there at the same time is so fulfilling, just really does fill my cup. Just being there with the team and laughing and, working together collaboratively on things, but also having those days at home where I could really zone in and focus, and there's not people coming in your door every hour or so.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Just being able to zone in.
It's the best part, and And the worst part of being in person is that you get to collaborate and you get to chat and you have those hallway moments or those water cooler moments where you're like, oh, I've got this challenge. Oh, how do I help? But then also there's those days where you're like, oh my gosh, this list of stuff I have to get done. And of course, it's always those days where you want to drill in at the office that like everyone's popping in. Hey, how's it going? Hey, I haven't caught up with you in a while. And you like, don't want to be rude. So I think having those like dedicated time where you can really drill in it, even though you're home, it ends up sometimes being like the most productive days.
Yeah, we call it hallway hijacked. So when you go down the hallway to get some water and then you just run into always welcome because I love catching up with everybody. But like I said, I work in a fishbowl, so I can't even close the door and pretend like I'm not there to zone in. So those work from home days are key for, zoning in and pushing out some good work.
Well, Colleen, I know your kids are a big piece of your life. So give me what are the names?
Marty and Mac.
Marty and Mac. And your husband, you said, is a big helper around the house there too.
Yeah, he's actually a Walgreens pharmacist. So he is mostly at work at night. And when he is home, it's just so nice to have the opportunity to sit down and like be me for a minute instead of mom me for the majority of the day. Those are totally different people.
I get that. I do get that. All right. So before the busy days now, before the mom days, let's take you back to, 2009. You're graduating from Fenwick High School. And, there on your graduation day and you're heading off to college at Purdue. What did you think you were going to do with your life?
So funny. It's so funny because I went to college and I was like, I've always been a lover of sports. I played basketball my entire high school career. I ran track. My brother played football. We went to Connecticut every weekend to watch him play football in college. I just loved sports and I knew that I wanted to be involved in the sports world. In addition to that, I also did a lot of, I did pageants and talent shows and I sang. So entertainment was a part of my background. And then I went to college, freshman year, you're kind of just getting the feel for things. Purdue University, by the way, boiler up. And then freshman year, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. I definitely went in with comms major. It was perfect for me. And then junior year, I took a class. I remember it specifically. It was a sports communication class, and it's very hard to get into because everyone wants to work in sports, right? That's everyone's goal. And the teacher said, how many of you want to work for a sports team? And the whole class lifted their hands up. And then they were like, have you ever thought about it from the angle of working for the arena? And I was like, no, you just think Bulls, you think Blackhawks. You don't think about the people behind the seats at the arena. So she was the one who kind of opened my eyes and changed my perspective. And then from there, I graduated in 2013. I started working at the governor's office in the city of Chicago. And I was like, this isn't it. This isn't it for me. So I was there for a total of 2 weeks before I applied at the United Center. I was combing the arena's website, applied for the United Center, got an interview within a week, and then got the job offer a couple days later. And it felt like the stars aligned for me. And honestly, it was God's will.
Well, you spent a lot while you were in college. You did get a lot of, some interesting internship experiences.
Oh yeah. So one of them was, it was versatile, but one of them was Shedd Aquarium. That was a key moment for me, working at the Shedd Aquarium, because how do you have a bad day when there's a beluga whale next to you and a baby penguin that you're naming that week? So I would say Shedd Aquarium was a really good starting point for me because it really helped me fine tune my practical skills, so writing those releases, making media lists, doing pitches, that really kind of was a starting point for me to spiral into the next role. Shedd Aquarium was a high point for me for sure.
So you start off as a marketing associate, you move up to marketing coordinator, then senior marketing manager, to your current role. Tell me about, staying in one arena and being, selected to move up.
Yeah, actually, one of the major things that I'd like to communicate to, especially our younger listeners, is to advocate for yourself, because all of those changes, all of that growth, all of that development did not come because my boss read my mind. All of those opportunities presented themselves because we asked for them. It's important to learn, to grow, to take everything you can from a job, but it's also important to advocate for yourself and ask for the things that you need, so that you are able to grow, you are able to optimize in that position, you are able to be the best you can be. And that's what I think. I come from a very polite Irish Catholic family. So I have never been, I was part of a culture where you don't ask, you just are polite and respectful. And then working in the sports and entertainment industry and being as eager as I was, I knew there was something off about that, like that culture I grew up in. So I think that was a turning point for me, just being stuck in this role. I don't know if you noticed, but I was a coordinator for 5 years, but I was a coordinator reporting to our senior vice president at the United Center. So there was no really boss above me. We were operating on our own within the marketing and communications department. So in that moment, I was like, there's a gaping hole here, and I'm filling that gaping hole, but I don't feel like I have the title to support it. And that was important to me. So advocating for myself there in those positions was just super integral to my growth and development as a professional at the United Center.
Yeah, and I think it is something that people sometimes, when they're early in their careers, speaking for myself as well, is you sometimes think like your only route up is either someone's going to recognize you and just deliver a new job to you on a plate, which never is going to happen, or rarely, I should say, will happen. But also you would have to, they'd have to create a new role, or someone else is going to have to leave. And so I think there are a lot of possibilities that are there. And sometimes you just have to educate your bosses on what you need and also what industry standards are. Like I remember in my last job, I was a coordinator, also very kind of stuck in that role. Actually, for a while, I was like a social media specialist, but there was no marketing manager, there was no marketing coordinator. And I was performing those roles. So sometimes it's like you have to basically say, look, this is what I'm doing. This is what comparable people are doing in my industry. And it's important for me that I get to, show this title on my resume and that it reflects what I bring to the business. And I think sometimes that's not as apparent for younger people, but clearly is something that, they should do, because will help them in their next career. If they're not, if they, move on to another spot, you don't want to be like, oh, I was a social media specialist for 12 and a half years doing the job of a VP or something,
Exactly. And when you join the workforce, I feel like you're under this impression that everybody has it figured out, like there's this natural ladder that you just go after, and like one thing falls after the next. No, nobody's got it figured out. You have to figure it out for yourself.
Yeah. And often it's not a ladder. It's like a broken staircase that's got cliffs in some directions, and there's random walls and doors everywhere that no one even knows how they ended up there. So it's, I mean, you kind of sometimes have to create the path because it's often not there already for you.
Yeah, there are some loose nails in those staircases, that's for sure.
Colleen, I know you're a big believer in, kind of celebrating and helping women in the workplace. Let's talk about some of your efforts there.
Yeah, so I think a major, first of all, I'm an active member of the WISE Women in Sports and Live Events group, the Chicago chapter. But then beyond that, one major highlight for me, one career highlight that just always comes through is I don't know if you guys remember, but when Michelle Obama did her book tour at arenas, the Becoming book tour, we saw that as an opportunity. So behind the scenes, we had this big welcome for her. We asked for letters from the local schools and letters from specifically the little girls to Michelle Obama. And we made this big wall for her of appreciation. So that was in the awesome. Background, but yeah, in the foreground. So a lot of times we're serving the people that visit the arena, so the talent, and then also the guests. But are we ever filling really the cups of the employees that work there? It's few and far between, right? So we saw that as an opportunity to celebrate the women in the workplace, with Michelle Obama being one of the strongest forces that I have for myself as a model. We put on a panel called Becoming, a Celebration of Women in the Workplace. And it had, I think, 5 panelists that came and spoke on their experiences working in the sports and entertainment industry. And so those panelists were one from the Bulls, one from the Blackhawks, one from the White Sox. We had one from the United Center, and then also one from Live Nation. So it was just cool to see all the faces in the crowd, both men and women. And I think it was just a proud moment for me to be able to celebrate and to be able to come together and also look out there and see all of the men who support us and see all of the men who are there to listen and understand how they can grow or how they can help be an ally to us. It was just a really good moment for me.
So, here we are, back to present day, so many cool things going on, and, aside from the bid, anything else, current projects you're working on, any big priorities as we begin to wrap things up here today?
Yeah. So between all of the event announcements, we've gone like 2 times the number of events at the United Center since I started. We're just working on a lot of event acquisition stuff. That's, I think, the number one part of my job currently. You know how that changes. But then beyond that, we have some exciting building projects that we are working on right now that require some comms support, comms planning, website development. All of those things are in the background. We're working on confidentially, but you guys will see here coming soon.
That's always exciting. I think it's so fun to be a part of developmental stuff, because then 10, 15 years from now, some sort of thing, even like a new plaza opening, you can remember that. You might be retired or whatever many years from now, and then you're like, I helped open that. I wrote the press release for that. I think developmental stuff is just so fun.
Yeah, it's really cool to see something grow from nothing. And just like even the East Atrium in the office building that we sit in today, it not being there when I walked through the door for my interview, and then me sitting in it now is just really humbling and exciting, and just something that I personally feel proud of.
Colleen, before we let you go today, I want to hit you with our fast 5.
Oh yeah,
5
let's
quick
hear it.
questions, just looking for your immediate brief response. First up, what was your very first concert?
Ooh, very first concert, The Fray. Are we talking about as a fan?
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
As a fan, The Fray, and I think it was like 2008. Outdoor concert, really mellow. But
I've seen The Fray before. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite concert?
Oh, from a work experience or from a okay, Mumford and Sons they're one of my favorite bands, and then just feeling their music as a fan in the seats was fun.
Best pizza in Chicago?
Oh, Lou Malnati's. Giordano's, because they're good for thin crust and they're good for deep dish.
All right, that's a tough call. I go back and forth there myself. You mentioned being a singer. What's your go-to karaoke song?
Oh, Mr. Brightside, The Killers. We just talked about this yesterday.
All right, last up, we have reality TV cameras follow you around all the time. It's the Colleen Quinn show. What's the theme song? What's the song that plays over the opening credits to the show all about you?
Oh, I'll Be There For You. It's the same one as Friends. I feel like that's a big part of me, just being in everybody's corner and I like being the orchestrator in the background, flying under the radar, but always being supportive of the people in the forefront.
There you go. Awesome. Watching out for those hallway hijackers. I like that. Colleen, give us some plugs. People want to follow you or United Center. Give us the anything you want to plug here.
Yeah. So Colleen Quinn on LinkedIn, Quinn Col on Instagram, and then follow the United Center. We're always doing some really cool stuff on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Instagram's really our highlight if you want the short and sweet.
There you go. Thank you so much for making the time today and your very busy world that you've got going on there.
No, thank you guys. I'm really excited to have the opportunity to speak with you and really look forward to EAMC Seattle.
That's right.
Yes.
We'll see you all soon.
Hey, a big thanks to everybody for listening to this episode of Adventures in Venueland. Remember, you can subscribe and find more episodes wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. We'd love your 5-star reviews so you can help others find us. Until the next adventure, I'm Dave Rettelberger.
And I'm Paul Hooper. Thanks for listening, everyone. Adventures in Venueland is a side project of the Event and Arena Marketing Conference, a nonprofit organization bringing together people in the field of live entertainment to discuss marketing, publicity, and sales trends. Find out more at eventarenamarketing.com.
Audio editing and mixing by Camille Faulkner.
Design and digital advertising by Megan Ebeck.
Copywriting and publicity by Samantha Marker.
Guest booking and brand strategies by Paul Hooper.
Guest research by Dave Rettelberger.
Marketing strategies by Paul Hooper, Megan Ebeck, and Samantha Marker. Thanks for joining us. Until the next adventure.